It's over 9,000! Woo! Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby. And today, I'm coming at you guys with an update for my ORCUST deck profile. This build is more different from the build that I just literally showcased like a week ago. Every time I change this build, I have to take it down to locals and just give it a test. And I don't mind taking it to that locals in particular because there are Trickstar players, there are Sky Striker players, there's an Altergeist player, there's plenty of Thunder Dragon players, and there's actually more Salamangreat players than anything. So I like that I get to have get a feel of how good this is in those particular matchups because those are all popular meta decks that I'm going to see a lot. And just getting a thorough understanding on how good this deck is to combat those particular decks that I'm going to see that have higher representation than most, it really gives me a thorough understanding on how good the deck is. It also allows me to pinpoint some weaknesses that it might be having, some issues that it might have, and also it gives me a grand perception on really how this deck can hang in the grind games as well. So I've really been enjoying it a lot. This build is it's incredible. In fact, one of the best experiences that I've had probably outside of playing through Borlo Savage Dragon, an Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, Jackal King, and also a Zephyr Divine Strike. Outside of playing through that, outside of killing Goliath, Crystal Wing, playing through Imperial Order, FA Don Dragster, and Ecomax, which was pretty insane as well. Outside of playing through that, one of the best experiences also was against a Danger Guard Dragon Thunder Dragon deck. I don't even know, it didn't even seem like it was a Thunder Dragon deck, but it's Thunder Dragon, I guess. He used a Chaos Dragon monster that has like 3 different effects. It's a broken card. I was reading it like, dang, it took one of my cards, and then he used Diabolos from the Lair Structure deck to take another card on my hand, and then he made a Zombie Stein, which I was like, what the heck? I thought I was the only one playing Zombie Stein. And then he made the Red Dragon Archfiend. It's like a big monster. He just really made a great board, and he still had a Colossus out. I was like, wow, like he just Gumblarded me for 2 basically and ended on 2 negates plus I can't search, and that was pretty nuts. But I cleared his entire field and Boros sorted him to death, playing with only 4 cards, and he was not very happy about that. Like he had a man, yeah. Like this deck is just really insane, you guys. It's an extremely powerful deck. I can't even believe half the time what it can play through. It's just unbelievable sometimes. It's so ridiculous, dude. This deck has such a great Thunder Dragon matchup. It's so good against Sky Strikers. It really, like, I think that the deck's biggest weakness is itself. If you don't play your build right, if you don't manage your resources properly, if you're not a responsible player, if you get greedy, you can punish yourself and you can lose to your own deck. It does reward you for being a skilled player. It rewards you for planning ahead. Just think of it as a game of chess where you need to plan turns ahead because the deck can set you up for the future plays, which is really good, giving you consistent follow-ups. But it rewards you for doing all of that. It's a very good deck. So what I did was, for this particular build in the past one, I followed the probability and statistic aspect. I did really mathematical percentages and ratios. So it is mathematically incorrect for me to brick with the deck. And ultimately, following the algorithms that I've been following and using the combo pieces, the same combo pieces, seeing how many different basically strategic, I guess you could say strategic enhancements that I can do for the combo to make it more powerful, I've learned that there are different algorithms that you can follow that end on the different boards, but with the same combo. So like one Ibli can make 6 different boards now, which I find is just incredibly powerful, you guys. Like this deck is so good, man. So we're gonna hop into my list. Without further ado, I think I've rambled enough, right? I'm just really excited, you guys. This deck is so awesome, and there's like 30 different ways you could play the deck. Like trust me, this build is not the only way to play it. You could just do what Ed's doing. I'm not trying to play Ed's build. Starting off with 3 Iblis, this is absolutely the best 1-card combo in the deck. You have 1-card combos and 2-card combos, and the deck is way more consistent than every deck in the playing field because essentially getting 2 monsters with different names on the field enables you to do the full ORCUST combo. And when you consider how many different splashable engines and archetype-specific cards that you can integrate into your strategy to enable that to happen on a very frequent level, and that's the epitome of consistency in a repetitious manner. When your deck's able to do the same thing repetitiously, that's what makes it consistent. When you consider all those, that's what makes ORCUST so consistent because there's so many different ways that you can get to that win condition. But Ibli's the best one. Outside of her just chain blocking from Ash, Ogre, and Gamma, what actually you play around more when Ibli gets to your opponent's field than when you're doing your chain blocking with her. Because once she hits the field, your opponent can no longer evenly match you. Your opponent can't evenly match you. Your opponent can't kaiju you. Your opponent cannot lava golem you. Your opponent cannot activate Thanos if they chose not to activate it then, which most people don't. They're like, oh, he only has one link. I'll just draw. Like, you know, if they don't activate Thanos, they can no longer do that. They can't play impermanence from their hand anymore. You have to understand how much that stops. And then for a Sky Striker player, now they're playing uncomfortably, and they open the multi-roll or the area 0. We actually put up disruptions to stop them from getting to that point. So Ibly's just really powerful. In fact, the most powerful combo in the deck is Ibly. We're playing 3 of her. I can't wait till we get that spell that allows me to search her because I'm going to be playing it. And it discards? I was like, what? Stop it. Stop it. 1 Armageddon Knight and 1 Grepher. These are the other cards that are going to enable you. These are starters. There is a difference, by the way, between a starter, an extender, and a follow-up. Everything is not extenders. What I hear too much in these days in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is this is an extender, 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 extender. All extenders do is allow you to push further than you are supposed to. They allow your deck to do more than what it's naturally able to do. So archetype specific cards, if you have a deck full of everything in your deck is archetype specific, the extenders are going to be non-archetype specific. They're going to be splashable cards because what extenders allow you to do is to go further than what your deck's natural capabilities allow you. So extenders remove the limitations that your deck naturally has as far as how you can progress your game state. And also extenders oftentimes give you contingency and follow-up plays. These are starter cards though. In Grepher in particular, I've had a really good experience with this card. Like opening this one in Nessie allowed me to play through an Ash Blossom, which also keep in mind, I discarded Nessie to special him, searched off Nessie, grabbed Jackalope, pitched Jackalope for cost, he Ash Blossomed it. Now, I used the Jackalope to bring out a danger, I made Phoenix, did Mermaid. And then in hindsight, my opponent said I should have waited for the Mermaid. And I explained to him, if you let Grepher resolve, I would have sent Orchestrated Nightmare to the graveyard anyways, and that would have been the combo regardless. So like, basically opening with Grepher in any way to special summon him guarantees that you can play through 2 hand traps. It's really insane. So Grepher, I wish I could play 3 of him. I can't believe they put him to 1. Well, yeah, I understand why. And then 2 copies of the Strudel. I cut the dark card down from 3 to 2. So I had to fit in 9 new cards into my 11 new cards into my deck. So what I did was I cut copies of cards that I'm already playing. And I did that on purpose so that I would not have to take anything out of the deck. I did not want to lose some of the benefits and the strengths and the beneficial accrutements that come with playing specific cards in the deck. So what I did was I cut down on ratios. It's called sacrificing what you want for what you need. So I cut the Strudel down from 3 to 2. You also can access him through Rhoda, Grepher, and Armageddon Knight, and Foolish Burial. So you technically are playing more than 2 copies of him. But he's a really good extender, which is not actually like an ORCUST card. A lot of the cards in the deck either start the combo or allow you to push even further. And the Strudel can either start the combo, but oftentimes what it does is allow you to push a little further. He's very flexible in the terms that he can be that level 4 that you need for your rank 4 plays, or he can be that level 3 that you need because I believe Breaksword's a good card. But in just simple blatant terms, bare minimum, this card's going to make your Phoenix is going to get you the combo. So oftentimes, the Strudel is never really a bad card to have in your hand. You just want to keep in mind, sight this card out in games 2 and 3 if you're ever getting close to time on the round. And then we cut the Phantom Knights down. I naturally was playing 6 of them. And like I said, what I ended up doing was sacrificing what I want for what I need. So I had to cut down copies of specific cards to incorporate different cards that I needed to play in my deck. Now, I didn't want to take anything out, like I said, because I don't want to lose the beneficial accrutements that come with playing the cards. So we're just playing 2 now. And trust me, it does hurt only playing 2. Like, I wish I could play more. But at the end of it, I'm very happy with the sacrifices that I made to make the deck better. Because it's been performing even better than it already was. And I've never had bad experiences with the deck to begin with. Now for our ORCUST, we're playing 2 copies of Nightmare. I feel essentially Nightmare is probably one of the most versatile of all. Just for the simple fact that you can activate this card and damage step because it increases the attack of your monster. With the field spell, it's a quick effect. That makes it even more applicable in multiple scenarios, making it much more versatile than just acting as a starter card. Oftentimes, I'm using Wand to put this back in grave because this will give me access to the Harpor or the Skeletor anyways, while simultaneously loading more Dark Machines in the Banish Zone because your Graveyard and your Banish Zone are the tool pools of resources that this deck accesses and abuses very frequently. So Nightmare is really good. It came up once playing against my teammates. He who sits on Pinkertop's his Salmon Great deck. Where just having Nightmare on field, he couldn't get over it because the biggest monsters that could get over it were Lynx, and this can't be destroyed by battle with Lynx. So sometimes in just a simplified game state, this card is better than what it looks like on pen and paper. And then we have 2 copies of Hardcore. I cut it from 3 to 2, not because, oh, I just feel like I just can't play 3 and it really sucks at 3. It's just, like I said, sacrificing what I want for what I need. I took out extra copies of cards that I played so that I would not lose anything. In fact, all I did was just lose percentages and ratios. And like I said, there's still probabilities, there's statistics, and there's a chance that you can and there's a chance that you cannot. There's a luck and a skill aspect to playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that luck applies on what you draw into your hand, no matter how good you are at deck building. Luck applies on what you draw, and the skill is what comes in place when you draw the right hand, how you use your cards. If you're a responsible player, you know, if you follow specific combo patterns on purpose, if you have all your plays memorized, if you're a greedy player, if you're too aggressive, or if you play like a game of chess and plan ahead, which I do, oftentimes you can be rewarded for that. But still, I don't think that I would go back to playing 3 of the card, because ultimately the sacrifice I made was well worth it. And we have 2 copies of Skeletor. Now, Skeletor in particular, just on the gradual terms of a grind game, actually takes you a lot farther than any other ORCUST card can. And oftentimes what I've been doing is I've been setting myself up. On my first turn, I've been setting myself up for turn 3. Because the way I think in my mind is like, turn 2, I'm going for a kill. But the way I put myself in this visual simulation where I'm like, there is no way that my opponent's not going to have every out possible. So I'm playing around cards that don't necessarily, might not be there, they might not exist, but I play around them as if they do exist. That allows me to effectively play around hand traps whether they're there or not, which also gives me a fairer chance in specific matchups. So what I'm doing is I'm setting myself up for turn 3, because in my mind, I'm not going to be able to kill my opponent in turn 2. Even though there's a chance that I can, I just put myself in the absolute worst case scenario. So setting yourself up for turn 3 is absolutely optimal. And this card allows you to do that. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get Galatea, Longoritsu, and ORCUST in your graveyard on your first turn. Because then Skeletor automatically can revive any of those cards during your opponent's turn via the field spell. And you can interrupt your opponent's plays with Longoritsu and ORCUST. And by setting up with 2 of these engraved, you get a follow-up on your opponent's turn and a follow-up on your standby phase, which allows you to go ORCUST to negate their cards, make their attack and defense 0, which means you can do it in damage step. And then on your draw phase, you bring out Longoritsu. And if there was a card that you couldn't clear, you clear it with Longoritsu, because you can place him in any zone you want. And you can put it in an applicable standpoint where he can point to whatever you need him to point to, which would make it linked if it wasn't linked before. And then 1 copy of Brass Bombard. The sole reason why I'm playing this card is because he's a tuner that is accessible through multiple combos, 1 card and 2 card combos. The main thing is we're trying to make Borreload Savage Dragon, because if you ever open a board that's susceptible to one particular interaction card, whether it's evenly matched, whether it's Dinko Sekka, because I play back row sometimes, either way, you want to make sure that you can mitigate as many weaknesses as you possibly can. The goal of making this build, which made it so different from the others, was I wanted to enhance the strengths that the deck already had. So I wanted, if this deck was already good at doing something, I wanted to make it great at that one thing. And then where the deck was fragile, I wanted to look at it from the fragile standpoint, and I wanted to mitigate those weaknesses by incorporating cards that would solve that issue when it came up, if that makes sense. And then the 1 copy of World 1. World 1 is just insane, you guys. This is my ORCUST lineup. I really wouldn't change it. I'm definitely not doing the 2 Nightmares and one of all the other ones, excluding the Bombard. I'm not knocking Ed Deception. I think he's a great duelist and he's a really skillful player, but I don't like his build at all. I like mine. I love being a flexible player. I like that my deck can go first or second and it doesn't make a difference. I don't like playing a deck that is absolutely solely based on the dice roll. Some people want to go first, but then you do have going second strategies. I like playing a deck where I don't care if I win or lose the dice roll. I know that I have just as good of a chance going first or going second. So those are your ORCUST. And I do play Dangers. This is where people are going to do a Hail Mary, do a handstand, rebuke me, and curse me just because I'm playing Dangers. And then you're going to see comments like Yu-Gi-Oh's dead just because I'm playing Dangers. It's going to happen. But we have 3 copies of Nessie, 3 copies of Tsuchinoko, 3 copies of Jackalope, 3 copies of Chupacabra. I do play a lot of Dangers, so in the mid to late game, this card is essential. Oftentimes, this card can just absolutely be the embedment of the board that you're trying to make, whether it's an XYZ play, whether it's a link play, or if you're just pushing for damage, getting a big enough monster for your board sword. This card is just really good. The absolutely essential Fibroprolific components of the deck is naturally just to put 2 monsters with different names on the field. That essentially is your win condition. And that's the main purpose of the Dangers, if you guys were wondering, oh, he's just playing Dangerous because he just wants to draw his whole deck and FTK me. No, the definition of playing the dangers to me is just to go in tandem with what I just mentioned. The fibroprolific components of playing the deck is just to get 2 monsters with different names on the field. That's it. And dangers obviously just special summon themselves while simultaneously allowing you to draw. The draws don't matter, so drawing Lockbird doesn't matter. All you're trying to do is just make a Phoenix and make a Mermaid. That's all that matters. This deck doesn't really search, and outside of the dangers, you don't really draw, and you don't need to draw. So drawing Lockbird and Colossus don't hurt this deck. I played under a Droll and a Colossus while getting my hand ripped apart, and it still didn't matter. Like, this deck is just really, it's not susceptible to the things that most decks are. The things that this deck are susceptible to are so few and far between that most people oftentimes have to do research on how to counter decks like this. And that's the truth. And I also played 3 Bigfoots and 3 Danger Thunderbirds. I love opening these, playing Salamangreats, because oftentimes it's so easy to make a Phoenix playing so many Dangers. You just co-link the Phoenix to their Heat Leo or their Sunlight Wolf. I don't care that they're adding a card from grave to hand, because they're going to die that turn. And you're discarding one of these for cost, which guarantees if they use the counter trap on the Phoenix, which they do, because I target the counter trap with it, they're going to negate the Phoenix. He's going to die. And then the Danger on the separate chain link is going to clear another card. So you can just systematically pick their board apart, even if it's just 1-for-1 exchanges. And we also played 2 copies of Dogman. There was a game where I just stole it because of Mermaid and Dogman. I pitched Dogman with Mermaid for cost. So essentially my opponent's monsters had 2,000 of less attack. Then whereas my monsters only had 1,000 less attack because Mermaid applied for mine. But my opponent's monsters were shrunk by 2,000. And that just allowed me to OTK without having a Boral load. In fact, I did it really simple. Because my opponent Ash Blossom my Mermaid. And I was like, alright, so I'm just going to spam the field with these Dangers. All your monsters are shrunk by 2,000 because of Dogman, and I'm leaving my Mermaid on the field on purpose. I'm just going to OTK you with incremental damage. That's the Dangers. Now for the part of the deck that also is going to get hate, or may get hate, who knows. Let's be a little bit more optimistic. Not everybody's going to hate, but you will have some people that are just going to hate, and it's okay. It's, you know, it's Yu-Gi-Oh, man. It happens. It's just how the community is sometimes. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 3 copies of Droll. Oh, you're playing Dangers and Hand Traps. You're a bad player. You suck. I'm unsubscribing. Hey, man, look. The reason why I'm playing Hand Traps is literally because I noticed that my deck's weakness was the Azathoth. Remember what I mentioned earlier in the profile. I'm trying to mitigate my deck's weaknesses, right? Even if the deck didn't have a weakness, I'm trying to mitigate every weakness that could possibly come up. So anything that's a possibility, that even if it has not occurred, I'm trying to avoid situations that haven't even happened yet. That's how perfect I want my deck to be. I want it to be prepared for every scenario. Droll's for cheesy decks. Droll in particular really helps in the Danger. Like, I seen this dude playing Guard Dragon, Crusadia, Danger, Rockets, and it's just like, he was ripping 2 cards out of my hand, but instead of ending on 2 negates like how the Danger Thunder Dragon dude was playing, he was ending on 3 and 4. And that was just, like, way too much. Like, if I had a 6-card hand, I can do it. I've played through 5 negates, bro. No lie. Like, I have absolutely, like, proof. I have teammates that have seen me done it. In fact, I've done it to my teammates. So 5 negates is not always a problem when you have a great hand. If you have a good hand, 3 to 4 negates is normally enough to stop you. But if you have 2 negates, you might as well just pick up your cards and scoop, because it's not going to be enough. But the Ash and the Droll are really there to ensure that I can play through the board. If I'm the way I see it, because, like, I don't mind Spear Mode, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the issues that I had with Spear Modes oftentimes was me getting Spear Mode out. Most of the time, I didn't have a way to clear the Spear Mode and then OTK after that. Like, I've done Longaritsu to send it to the grave, but then I didn't have enough resources to make Boral Sword and attack for game. And the whole point of me breaking the board is to kill my opponent the same turn so that they don't get a chance to recover. So I find that using Hand Traps to simplify the game state is more effective. It's a more effective tactic because these also are just universally better in a majority of matchups versus just Spear Mode for particularly, like, anything that's Guard Dragon related or like Danger Thunders, whereas like these are super good against Salamangreats. They're decent against you know, Guru. They're pretty good against Sky Strikers. You know, they're more versatile and they're more applicable and not necessarily generic, but just more versatile, like I said, and applicable in more matchups than just Spear Mode is. So that's the main reason for playing them. Even though you're going to say, oh, you could discard your Hand Traps off of Dangers. Honestly, there's so many things that can happen playing Dangers. You could discard the same Danger that you revealed. You have to just take the chance sometimes, and it's worth it for me. I really don't mind it, because losing dice rolls, which for some reason I lose dice rolls all the time, just having Hand Traps in my hand to simplify the game state and just go wombo combo on my opponent helps out so much. Versus scenarios where I lost die rolls in the past before, and my opponent got an Azathoth out, and I couldn't play Yu-Gi-Oh because my deck is just a monster mash. It's just a conglomeracy of monsters that work together, and that really sucks. So the main inspiration for playing 9 Hand Traps, which I play in the deck, is because I don't want to get Azathotted. Like, I don't want to sacrifice game 1 just so that I can play around Azathoth in games 2 and 3. Like, I want to be ready game 1 as well. Now for spells, 3 Allure Darkness, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, everything's practically dark. I don't care for Seconds Light for builds like this. Like, there are so many great spells that I need to play, that I love to play. I'm not sacrificing those because I'm greedy. No. Rhoda, very flexible card. It gives you your combo. It gives you your extenders, which can actually Grepher and Armageddon that get you access to your extenders like Destrudo, etc. Also, one Rhoda can just allow you to play around so many hand traps. You can Rhoda, they can Droll. It doesn't matter. You're gonna just grab Grepher, and Grepher is gonna allow you to either special it or you just normally, and then you dump your Harp Horror. Then you reveal a dangerous special it. Who cares if you don't draw? You're just trying to get Mermaid on the field. So Rhoda's godly. As well as Foolish, a very, very clutch utility card. Foolish is so good. Opening with it just like, it's that moment in the anime show when you're like, I can do anything now. Like when Gaara got Light and Sand, he's like, with sand like this, I could do. Like, that's how you feel when you open with Foolish. Like, I could do anything. For the Orcust spells and traps, we play 1 Babel. I was never playing ITERRUPTIONS before. When I say that this card is ridiculous, I'm never going to not play this card again. This card has rewarded me for playing behind. Like, for playing behind, where I'm losing and I'm supposed to lose. Like, this card literally told me 3 stacks, you were supposed to lose this duel. But because you were smart enough to play me and you activated me, you are now coming back and you have just won this duel. And I'm talking about an anime level comeback. Have you guys ever had an anime level comeback? That's what I'm talking about, bro. Like, this card is insane. I want to play 3 of it because I even, oftentimes I realize, like, let's just put yourself in a worst case scenario where you drew 2 of this or something like that. Or you just drew this and there were no other cards in your hand that were good. This will allow your deck to play itself. That's how good this card is. I can't believe I wasn't playing it before. I was so confident in my ability to manage my resources properly that I never considered what if a simplified game state came up to where my opponent did not allow the card that I needed to resolve and negated it, and then I couldn't get access to my ORCUST engine. This keeps you in the game. I've out-resourced almost every deck that I got into a grind game with. The only deck that I couldn't out-resource was the one that twin twisted this in the first place, so I couldn't use it. But just resolving this continually, it's so broken. This card says if your opponent decides to play Yu-Gi-Oh!, you start winning because of it. It's just so good. I'm never cutting it. I really want to bump it. It's so good, you guys. Like, I have to play this. This is why I am not in agreement with Seconds Light. 1 Orchestrated Return. It's like the Destiny draw of the deck. It's accessible through Galatea. I'm going to keep this lineup how it is. Getting the Field Spell Twin Twister doesn't really hurt because it can add self from grave to hand, but getting this Twin Twister is the main reason why I've been considering playing 2 of it. But yeah, I've won more games off of this than I should have. Like, when I say I should have, I was supposed to lose, like I said, but this card was like, you're not going to lose. Like, just because you decide to play me, you're going to win a game that you never deserve to win. And then 1 copy of Rank Up Magic Launch. It's essential for just resolving a mermaid can get you access to a myriad of 8 to 9 different combos. So far, I've memorized 9, but it's Build-A-Bear Workshop. If you just apply your skill level and dare to change the algorithms a little bit and just change your pattern a little bit, just try to resolve a card in a different order and instead of a chronological sequential order, you might come up with the end result versus resolving everything like this is first, this is second, this is third. Try resolving the 3rd card first and see the difference. That's how you really develop your own combos. And then 3 Infinite Impermanence to go in tandem with the action and the draw. We're playing 9 hand traps in the main deck. It's not necessarily just to counter cheese. It's just in general. Like I said, my deck can lose to Azathoth. And if you can impermanence Rusty, that's potentially shutting down their access to Azathoth. Because if I can't use monster effects, I essentially just can't play. And like I said, I'm not trying to relinquish game 1 just because I wasn't prepared for a card that I know is being played in so many decks. Also, it just really conveniently saved my life against a Rivalry of the Warlords. Having it in my main deck, just turning off Rivalry of the Warlords and just Trishbania the entire back row is insane. So I'm never going to cut this card. It's just so good, you guys. Impermanence it's $100 for a reason. And then 1 Fogblade and 1 copy of Shade Brigandine. Drawing Shade Brigandine or Fogblade doesn't really hurt. In fact, I would argue to say Fogblade is better as an extender than it is as a disruption because it just applies so much more pressure to the board that you can generate. I'm just giving you that 1 extra monster. Oftentimes was what enabled me to go full combo and then still summon Topologic Bomber Dragon at the end. So yeah, I really like these. Also, Fogblade conveniently gives you a contingency plan. In case your Azathoth play gets stopped, then you still can resolve your Rusty 1 more time because you need to be able to set off of him. And just having that extra target to set makes a difference sometimes. That's the main deck, you guys. Now for the side deck, I'm going to do the side deck first because this is what's changed the most. The extra deck's almost identical to last time. We're playing 3 copies of Thanos Dragon. What I love about this card is it's very versatile because it not only does what it does on pen and paper, but it gives me one half of the components that I need to essentially get to my win condition. Like I said, the fibrocallific components of this deck's win condition is to get what? 2 monsters with different names on field, which essentially those in a unison play make Phoenix. Phoenix goes to Nightmare, Mermaid, and then that's the part where your opponent has to stop you or they're going to lose. Thanos also conveniently counters impermanence. That gay card, Altergeist Soliquidus, it conveniently stops Widow Anchors. It's just a really good card. And also going second against Danger Thunder, their Zombie Steins and also their Red Dragon Archfiend thing. Having this allows you to play through both of them because you can negate the activation of the first one. The other one will chain to target this and negate it to force the first card to resolve. They've wasted both their negations just because you had a Thanos on your field. And on top of that, neither one of them negate Thanos and destroy him. So even after they've wasted both their negations, you can still just normal summon, make Phoenix, make Mermaid, and do the combo anyways, which actually came up playing against the Sky Striker player I played against, which was Cordero at Locals. So yeah, I'm sorry, it wasn't Cordero, it was Noe. Noe, I played against Noe, and then I played Cordero after that. Cordero was Sky Strikers, Noe was Danger, Thunder, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that came up against him, and it just really helped me a lot. The fact that, like I said, I was able to play through not only both the negations, but because the negations were not direct interactions that killed Thanos, it allowed me to essentially play through the negations, force him to waste them, and then I just got to normal summon, make a Phoenix, go into Mermaid, and then bam, just like that. Combo after getting 2 cards out of my hand, ripped out of my hand, losing 2 cards, and having to play into multiple negations, just Thanos just didn't care. So this card is really good. I understand why he's so expensive. He's just a really strong card, and oftentimes he can reward you for being far behind in the duel, and just gives you kind of like that anime comeback. And then we're playing 3 Denkos. So the perfect board that I've come up with so far, just in testing, like I said, I have different boards to assemble for different matchups. So like I have a board in particular, like there's combos. The Ibli combo has 6 different iterations, and each one of the 6, there's a board that I can end on for Thunder Dragons. That's going to be a disposition for them. Each one of the boards is detrimental in the matchup that it's relevant in. So I have a board for Sky Strikers. I have a board for Altergeist and Guru. I have a board particularly that I'm ending on for Salamangreats, and a board particularly for Thunder Dragons. And those boards all can be assembled just by having Ibli or just going straight into Mermaid. And each board that you make is going to be detrimental in that matchup. And the perfect board that I have so far for Sky Strikers, Altergeist, and Guru is literally Trishbania, Denkoseka, and Eradicator Epidemic Virus. It puts them in a situation where evenly matched and a Kaiju doesn't matter, where Impermanence and Widow Anchor don't matter, because no matter what, you're either playing into this Denko, you're playing into this Trishbania, or if you just go to battle phase, waste your battle phase, at the start of your battle phase, I don't care if you're bluffing me, I'm just going to use Eradicator, Tribute Trishbania, and call traps. If you didn't have the evenly and you were bluffing me, you just wasted your battle phase, you can't kill me, and I'm going to get you next turn. And Denko's still there. So like that's the perfect board for me playing against those decks. Denko has rewarded me so many times. I'm mad at myself for not playing it in the past. It's just a really good card. Oftentimes, playing against Salamangreats, this makes it almost nearly free. Like, I side in Phantasmes and Denkos. You open Phantasme, you have Denko. It's so nuts, you guys. It's a really strong card. And then we have 3 Evenlies. While I love to OTK and my game plan ultimately is first turn setup, second turn kill, there are some boards that it's just not worth it playing into them and going 1-for-1 with your opponent. It's fun, don't get me wrong. It really reminds me of old school classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Where we're interacting and we're going 1-for-1 with each other. But sometimes I'm just not in the mood for that. And if my hand's not great, but it's good or decent, oftentimes after going 1-for-1 with a good player, I can't end on full combo. And naturally, it's forced into a simplified game state where either player can get it. But evenly matched is absolutely just a 1-card blowout. And while it's unfair, it's justifiable sometimes. And then 3 reboots. I find that just back row decks are general. My deck's already strong against combo decks. Like, I haven't been losing the combo decks. What I've lost to the most is just Rivalry of the Warlords. And it just really gets under my skin, the fact that somebody can sit on a floodgate, hide behind it, and just beat me without even trying. I don't like that. Like, I want my opponent to work from their win. Like, if you're going to beat me, I want you to work for it. And if I could just reboot that rivalry and force you to interact with me, I'm going to do it. And naturally, the game plan, if you have reboot, it's just to reboot them, Trishbania their back rows, and then Borosort them to death. And then 3 Eradicators. The most unfair combo that besides the other ones that I talked about, is definitely Azathoth Virus. That's one of the main ways I'm trying to play the deck now. I'm trying to resolve Azathoth, and I'm trying to put my opponent under a Virus based on the card that they play a majority of. Oftentimes, you're not going to see an old school playstyle of, I have 20 monsters, 10 spells, 10 traps. You're going to see a vast majority of either monster spells or traps, and you're taking monsters away from your opponent. So you're using Eradicator to call the next most the next most essential component of their deck. Sky Strikers, call spells. Ultra Guys, call traps. Makes sense? You're Azathoting them, so you're denying them their monster effects, and you're using the virus to tribute any of the Orcust monsters that you get from Skeletor, or just the Bomber Dragon that you can make easily, and it's just a win condition. And then I'm going to go ahead and get through the extra deck really fast. It's pretty much the same. I play one of each Orcust link. I absolutely disagree with a lot of Orcust players not playing these and just thinking this is all you need. This is non-targeting, non-destroying removal. It can out virtually anything that's not unaffected by monster effects. This card is just ridiculous. It negates all link monsters that your opponent controls as long as they're linked. It literally says these are officially linked materials. This is all you're going to do with these. Their attack and defense is 0. They have no effects. All they are is just link materials. If you don't link with them, I'm just going to use them and take advantage of them using Boral Sword to my advantage. Just and knock them down like pins. So I just really like these cards. Summoning these under Topologic Bomber Dragon zones just makes it free because they can't be destroyed. And ultimately, you're trying to get all 3 of these in your graveyard on your first turn so that your Skeletor has the absolute maximum value that you can capitalize off of. And then next up, we have Rusty. I don't really want to talk about it because people are going to start complaining, but he's a good card. Summon Sorceress, Trish Bania for the rest of the link 3s. Essentially, the fact that this deck can Topologic Turbo is also what gives, I feel that gives Orcust a really high ceiling in any matchup. Because if you're playing against combo decks, you can abuse this card and resolve it 2 to 3 times in a turn. And if I can use one Battling Butler on you and it causes you to scoop or pass turn, this allows me to Battling Butler you like 2 to 3 times. Like, and I'm a prank kid player, so like I understand, like if I can Battle Butler you once and you lose, it's insane that I can literally just Raigeki you 2 to 3 times and still have that Topologic Bomber. And what's more powerful is Bomber basically says if your opponent decides to play Yu-Gi-Oh, they get Raigeki. Because if a monster is summoned to a link zone that a link monster points to while this card's on the field, it's going to trigger. So your opponent's like, oh, I'm just not going to summon in any of his zones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make my Summer Summoner, or I'm going to make my Wee Witch, then I'm going to summon under its zone. You're automatically triggering his effect. Read the card. He's so good. For combo decks, you use that. For Geists and Strikers and stuff like that, you just summon Trish Bania. In game 1, when you can't go with Virus and Dinko, this puts him in a situation where you literally tell him, Widow Anchor or lose. And it's not, like, realistically, it's not like, oh, they're never going to be able to out it. But the thing is, you put them in position where they need a specific out. And to me, that's really high ceiling. And going second, this has been insane where I've done it. Just like, I've Trish Bania the entire back row, Topologic Bomber the entire field, and just swung with Topo. The Topologics are just good. And then Boral Sword and 1 Phoenix and 1 Mermaid to finish up the links. And then we have Zombie Stein. Zombie Stein is another negation that you can put up. Not like oftentimes opening with Ibly and a Harpour in hand, you can end with these. And what you end up having to do is you have to jump zones and get your Rusty in the main monster zone. So you have to put Rusty in the main monster zone first, then you can jump zones and put these in our Orcustrion zone. So that way you can summon Azathoth in Rusty's zone. And then you have Azathoth, you have Borlo Savage Dragon, you have Zombie Stein, and you have follow-ups in your graves via the Orcust and their quick effects. So it's just a lot for your opponent to deal with. And Azathoth and Redoer, and then Breaksword, because I love Phantom Knight Breaksword. Just cards just so good. Even though playing 2 Phantom Knights decreases the odds of getting his effect, it comes up occasionally where you can bring back both your Phantom Knights. When you make him with, for example, a Jackalope and a Tsuchinoko, you just out a card, you bring back the 2 Phantom Knights, and you make Boral Sword. And that's going to conclude the deck profile, you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching it. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something. And just keep in mind, when you're building any deck, there is no right or wrong way to play it. I feel that you should just follow your heart. And if you believe that it's the way the deck should be played, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That's all I'm going to have for you guys today. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content. And y'all have a beautiful day, all right? Peace out, yo.